Royal couples who fell in love at the Olympics. Every 4 years, the Olympics draws the very best elite athletes from around the world to its host city. The Games attract many other elites as well. From its origins in ancient Greece to its modern revival in 1896, the Olympics has long been closely associated with royalty. In last week's episode, we met 40 royal athletes who practiced or purchased their way onto the Olympic field. But even more, kings, queens, princes, and princesses flock to the Games to cheer on their home teams and rub shoulders with athletes and other royals from around the world. It's little wonder, then, that at the Olympics, royal romance is often in the air. Let's meet 6 royal couples through history who made their love connections at the Olympic Games. Princess Juliana of the Netherlands and Prince Bernhard of Lippe-Biesterfeld. Juliana was the only daughter of Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands. The queen had inherited the throne at the age of 10 after the early deaths of all 3 of her brothers. The young queen stood up to Kaiser Wilhelm and refused to join Germany in World War I. Thus, she was incredibly popular with the Dutch people. So too was her daughter. After several miscarriages, Wilhelmina finally delivered a healthy child, Juliana. She was her mother's pride and joy, and the singular hope for the future of the House of Orange. The princess had a promising future. She graduated from the University of Leiden and had been made a counselor of state in preparation for her future as monarch. Her royal mother had high expectations for her future husband. He must be royal and Protestant, a difficult prospect after so many monarchies had fallen after World War I. Prospective grooms, including princes from the UK and Sweden, were vetted, but they all either declined or were turned down by Juliana. As the princess approached her 27th birthday, considered quite an advanced age to be single in those days, her mother and the nation were getting nervous. If she didn't marry soon and produce an heir, the Dutch throne would go to one of her distant German cousins. And with Adolf Hitler posturing for yet another world war, this was a terrifying prospect. In a Hallmark Christmas movie scenario, Juliana's loving but slightly meddling mother bundled her off for a 2-week trip to the 1936 Winter Olympics in Bavaria, Germany. In the snow-covered, picture-perfect alpine village of Garmisch-Partenkirchen, the princess watched skiing, bobsledding, and speed skating. She even got in a little skiing of her own and warmed up by the fire in a luxe chalet. Soon, a handsome young man caught her eye. He dazzled the shy princess and was terribly sweet, coaxing her out of her shell and inviting her to parties. As Juliana fell head over heels, she was thrilled to learn that Bernhard was in fact a prince and would thus be acceptable to her mother. His family, the Lippes, were from a sovereign royal house in the German Empire. In fact, the pair were 7th cousins. When their romantic holiday at the Olympics came to an end, Bernhard returned to Paris, where he was working as a businessman, but he made plans to visit Juliana in The Hague, and the pair scheduled another skiing holiday in Austria. When the princess arrived home, she couldn't wait to tell her mother all about her Prince Charming. She probably wasn't all too surprised when the queen fessed up that she knew all about Bernhard, had asked him to go to Bavaria, and had sworn Juliana's attendance to secrecy as they plotted the perfect meet-cute. 11 months later, on January 7, 1937, Princess Juliana and Prince Bernhard were wed in The Hague and waved to massive, cheering crowds. 3 royal babies, Beatrix, Irene, and Margrethe, soon followed. Not everyone was thrilled with the heir's choice of groom. In 1940, the Netherlands went to war against Bernhard's homeland, and the prince's loyalties were questioned. He vehemently denied having joined the Nazi Party, though his membership card was found after his death. But he joined the Allied Army and fought valiantly as a combat pilot, gaining respect in his adopted country. Juliana and their children fled to Canada. After the war, the royal couple had a fourth daughter, Christina, who was born partially blind. In 1948, Queen Wilhelmina retired, and 39-year-old Juliana became queen. She was down to earth and popular with her people, preferring to be called Mrs. rather than Your Majesty. But all was not well in the royal household. Desperate to cure her daughter's blindness, Juliana had come under the influence of a faith healer, whom her husband warned her was a scam artist. Bernhard formed a faction of supporters and attempted to force his wife to abdicate the throne. He was also unfaithful and fathered at least 2 illegitimate children. The prime minister banished the faith healer from court. Bernhard planned to divorce his wife, but decided against it when, as he put it, he found out that the woman still loved him. Advances in medicine helped Christina regain much of her eyesight. In 1976, Prince Bernhard was found to have accepted a $1 million bribe. He was disgraced and forced to resign his many positions in the military, business, and philanthropy. In 1980, Queen Juliana abdicated in favor of her daughter, Beatrix. The retired queen remained active until the mid-90s when she began to suffer from Alzheimer's disease. She died in 2004, age 94. Prince Bernhard died 9 months later and was placed beside her in the royal vault. Anne, Princess Royal of the UK, and Captain Mark Phillips. Queen Elizabeth II's only daughter took after both of her parents and grew up mad for horses, with multiple stables at various palaces filled with the kingdom's finest mounts. The princess lived out many little girls' equestrian fantasies. In 1968, Anne traveled to Mexico City to cheer on the British team at the Olympics. The 18-year-old princess had just begun her own equestrian career and was not yet ready to compete at the highest level, but she watched the events and attended parties with the athletes. At one soiree, Anne made the acquaintance of Mark Phillips, a 20-year-old cadet from the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst. He had managed to gain a position as a reserve on the British equestrian team. The pair bonded over their shared love of all things equine. But the princess was playing the field and dated several other eligible chaps, including Andrew Parker Bowles, future husband of her brother Charles's flame, Camilla. Anne and Mark were both eagerly getting their equestrian careers off the ground. In 1971, Anne won a gold medal at the European Eventing Championships. She was also voted BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Both she and Mark trained for the 1972 Olympic team, though only Mark made it. He finished 35th individually, and the team won a gold medal. Anne was there to cheer him on and was clearly impressed. The couple announced their engagement and were married the following year in Westminster Abbey. In 1976, Anne got her chance at Olympic glory. In Montreal, Canada, she rode her mother's horse, Goodwill, in the 3-day team equestrian event. Mark hadn't qualified that year, but he was there to cheer his wife on. Halfway through, she fell and suffered a concussion. She remounted and finished, but she can't remember making the rest of the jumps. The British team had to pull out of the competition after 2 other horses were injured, and the princess missed out on a medal. The next year, Anne became a mother, and with her many royal duties, her equestrian career took a back seat. Mark continued to compete and went to the Olympics for a second time in 1988 in Seoul, South Korea. His horse was injured and he was unable to compete, but he won a silver medal as part of the British team. All this time apart put a strain on the royal marriage, and while Mark was riding horses around the world, he wasn't pining for his wife back home. When a one-night stand showed up with his daughter, the troubled royal marriage came to an end in 1993. Both remarried, Mark to an American Olympic dressage rider, Sandy Fleger. Anne allowed her ex and his new wife and baby to live in a cottage on her estate at Gatcombe Park, so he could continue to co-parent their 2 children, Peter and Zara. Though their marriage didn't work out, their love of horses continues on in their daughter, Zara. She won silver in eventing at the 2012 London Olympics. Her mother, who is a member of the International Olympic Committee, presented her medal. King Carl XVI Gustaf and Sylvia Sommerlauth. Carl was 4 when he became crown prince and heir to the Swedish throne. His father had died in a plane crash when he was a baby. He trained in the Swedish Army, Navy, and Air Force, then studied economics at Uppsala and Stockholm universities. In 1972, the 26-year-old prince traveled to Munich, West Germany, to attend the Summer Olympics. Sylvia Sommerlauth was born in Heidelberg to a German father and a Brazilian mother. She grew up in both countries. She attended the Munich School of Interpreting, and in addition to her native German and Portuguese, she became fluent in French, Spanish, and English. In 1972, she worked at the Olympic Games in Munich as an interpreter and hostess. She was spearheading a marketing campaign for the city, and she and other hostesses wore sky blue drindles to promote Bavarian cultural identity. As head hostess, Sylvia was tasked with guiding the highest-profile guests, including Crown Prince Carl. The 27-year-old prince was instantly smitten with the confident, capable 29-year-old career woman. He asked her out, and that evening they had dinner together. He later said that something just clicked. After the closing ceremonies, Carl returned to Stockholm, but he continued to see Sylvia. They met in Switzerland, France, and at a relative's country estate. Neither told friends and family who they were dating, as they wanted to keep their relationship private for as long as possible. Plus, they had a serious problem. His grandfather, King Gustaf VI Adolf, strongly believed that royals should only marry other royals. The prince knew that if he dared to marry a commoner while his grandfather was alive, he would be removed from the succession. When visiting Sweden, Sylvia disguised herself in a blonde wig to throw off the press. The couple were photographed together in a car, but journalists assumed the mysterious woman was Margarita of Romania, one of the prince's old girlfriends who would have been an acceptable royal bride. In 1973, Carl's grandfather died, and he became King Carl XVI Gustaf. Sylvia moved into an apartment in Stockholm, and with no one to stop him, the king started the process of changing the law to allow him to marry a commoner. After 4 years of cloak and dagger dating, Carl finally popped the question with his late mother's engagement ring. During their engagement interview, Sylvia did her best to answer in Swedish. She soon became fluent in her 6th language. The night before the wedding, the couple attended a royal variety show where ABBA performed their hit song, Dancing Queen, in honor of Sylvia. They were wed on June 19, 1976, in Stockholm Cathedral. Sylvia gave birth to 3 children, Victoria, Carl Philip, and Madeline. She is a popular queen and involved in numerous philanthropies, focusing on child welfare, dementia, and elder care. She and Carl share an interest in outdoor activities and enjoy skiing together. In recent years, there have been numerous reports that King Carl was frequently unfaithful to his wife. Throughout these allegations, Sylvia has remained by his side. They attend most Summer and Winter Olympics together. Princess Cristina of Spain and Iñaki Urdangarin. Cristina is the second child of King Juan Carlos of Spain and Queen Sofia of the Greek and Danish royal family. Olympic sailing is a family tradition. Cristina's father, mother, and uncle, the King of Greece, have all participated. While studying political science at the Universidad Complutense de Madrid, the 23-year-old princess competed in the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. She was Spain's flag bearer, and her Tornado-class crew sailed into 20th place. 4 years later, she watched as her younger brother, Felipe, finished 6th in the Barcelona Games. 4 years after that, the family traveled to the United States for the Games in Atlanta. None of their royal kin were competing that year, but they attended a variety of events to cheer on the home team. One sport in which Spain looked promising was handball. Iñaki Urdangarin is from a small village in the Basque region. He began playing professional handball at 18 for FC Barcelona. He had previously competed with Team Spain in the 1992 Olympics, but they went home empty-handed. In a thrilling match against France, the Spanish team clinched the bronze medal. During the celebrations, Cristina asked a friend, "Who is that blonde?" Iñaki was a playboy, but everything changed when he met the princess. They started dating, and their friends helped them to keep their relationship quiet while they got to know each other. In 1997, Cristina and Iñaki were married in Barcelona Cathedral and created Duke and Duchess of Palma. They had 4 children, Juan, Pablo, Miguel, and Irene. The Duke continued his handball career and went to the 2000 Sydney Olympics, where he added another bronze medal to his collection. After the victory, the players hoisted their royal teammate onto their shoulders. The next year, he retired, but joined the IOC and launched a career as a sports marketing entrepreneur. For years, the couple, with their Cinderella sports story, were the darlings of the Spanish media. But it didn't last. In 2011, it came to light that Iñaki had embezzled €6 million of public funds meant for sporting events. This was just one of the many financial scandals surrounding King Juan Carlos. In a desperate bid to save his monarchy, he abdicated and handed the throne to his son, Felipe VI. The new king stripped his sister and brother-in-law of their dukedom and royal duties. In 2016, Iñaki and Cristina were put on trial for corruption and money laundering. She claimed to have been unaware of her husband's activities and was acquitted on insufficient evidence. Iñaki was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Their Royal Olympic romance did not survive. After his release from prison, photographs of him with another woman hit the papers. The couple announced their separation in 2022. King Frederik X of Denmark and Mary Donaldson. Frederick was 4 when his mother became Queen Margrethe II, and he Crown Prince of Denmark. He studied political science at Aarhus University and spent a year incognito at Harvard, completing a master's degree. He did training in all 3 branches of the military. The charming and intelligent heir to the throne, who looked as dashing in a uniform as he did running, skiing, or sailing, naturally attracted a lot of attention from the press. There was great speculation about when he might make some lucky lady a princess. To escape the paparazzi badgering, the 32-year-old royal bachelor went on a 4-month dog sledding expedition to northern Greenland. When he returned, he and a bunch of royal cousins went to Australia to attend the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Mary Donaldson was a 28-year-old advertising executive. After the sudden death of her mother, she traveled the world, then left her quiet life on the island of Tasmania for the big city. In 2000, the world came to Sydney for the Summer Olympics. On September 16th, the second night of the Games, Mary went out with a group of friends to a pub called the Slip Inn near the Olympic Village. The venue was crowded with athletes and tourists, but her flatmate saw a man she knew at the bar and introduced Mary to him and his companions. She hit it off with one man in the crowd, Fred. Something clicked, Mary later said. It wasn't fireworks in the sky or anything like that, but there was a sense of excitement. The group drank beer, ate pizza, and later moved on to a dance club. All the while, Mary and Fred were enthralled in flirtatious conversation. Later, a friend pulled Mary aside and said, "Do you know who those people are?" Mary was informed that Fred was the Crown Prince of Denmark. The man her flatmate knew was Felipe, the future King of Spain, and they had also been partying with Prince Nicolas of Greece and Princess Martha Louise of Norway. For the rest of his 2 weeks in Sydney, in between cheering for Team Denmark, the prince spent time with Mary. When he returned to Europe, they continued a long-distance relationship. He made several discreet trips down under, and she got a chance to know him as a person outside of the obligations of royalty. After a year, the press sniffed out their relationship when a curious reporter wondered why Frederick's younger brother, Joachim, was appointed temporary regent instead of him. She tracked him down to Sydney and identified his girlfriend in the press. As their relationship got more serious, Mary moved to Copenhagen, took a job as a project manager for Microsoft, and began taking Danish lessons. Frederick proposed with a square-cut diamond and ruby ring, similar to Denmark's flag. In 2003, their engagement was officially announced, and the media in Europe and Australia went wild over their Cinderella love story that started at the Olympics. They wed on May 14, 2004 in Copenhagen Cathedral and spent their honeymoon in Africa. The Crown Prince couple sailed the royal yacht Daneborg to Athens, Greece for the 2004 Olympics. Thus far, they've been to 8 Olympic Games together, and Frederick is a member of the IOC. He continues his athletic pursuits, has completed several marathons and Ironmans, and is a competitive sailor and skier. In 2012, he participated in Sweden's Vasaloppet cross-country skiing race with Prince Haakon of Norway. When asked why he never competed in the Olympics, the prince responded that after he met Mary, he no longer wanted to spend the thousands of hours needed to train, and instead he focused on other aspects of his life, like raising their 4 children, Christian, Isabella, Vincent, and Josephine. Mary has been an incredibly popular addition to the Danish royal family and is involved in numerous charities with special interest in immigrants, refugees, LGBTQ rights, and women's health. She is also an avid equestrian and competes in dressage. In 2018, at a gala celebrating Crown Prince Frederic's 50th birthday, Mary gave a speech in impeccable Danish, telling her husband, "I'm so happy you swept me off my feet." On January 14, 2024, Queen Margrethe II abdicated and passed the throne to her son. He became King Frederik X, and Mary became Queen Consort of Denmark. Prince Albert II of Monaco and Charlene Wittstock. Albert's father, Prince Rainier III, needed an heir and hoped that a glamorous wife might attract more tourism to his micronation on the French Riviera. So he proposed to Hollywood star Grace Kelly, and they wed in a mutually beneficial business arrangement. Though it was billed as a Cinderella story, the royal marriage was far from happy. Rainier was often unfaithful, and Grace felt trapped in her role as a princess. While she gave up her Hollywood dreams, her only son, Albert, had Olympic dreams. His maternal grandfather, Jack Kelly, won 3 gold medals rowing for Team USA in the 1920s. But the prince had trouble convincing his father to fund his athletic ambitions. Rainier didn't think his balmy Mediterranean nation needed a team at the Winter Olympics. His son eventually badgered him into sponsoring Monaco's first bobsledding team. Albert competed in 5 consecutive Winter Olympics from 1988 to 2002. His highest result was 25th place. In between Olympic runs, the prince gained a reputation as a playboy. 2 paternity suits were publicly leveled against him. He initially denied that Jasmine and Alexandre were his children, but DNA tests proved otherwise. Like his father, Albert needed to settle down and produce a legitimate heir. If Monaco doesn't have a Grimaldi on the throne, it will revert back to being a French possession. But while his father had an eye for Hollywood glamour, Albert had an eye for Olympic gold. And at a 2000 swimming competition, the prince's eye alighted on a tall, sinewy, blonde Olympian. Charlene Wittstock was born in Rhodesia and grew up in South Africa. At 21, she won 3 gold medals at the All-African Games. At the 1998 and 2002 Commonwealth Games, she won silver. In 2000, she represented South Africa at the Sydney Olympics. Her relay team finished in 5th place. Fresh off of her Olympic debut, she traveled to Monaco for the Mare Nostrum meet and won a gold medal in the 200-meter backstroke. She also won the admiration of the heir to the throne, who was 20 years her senior. Details on their early courtship are rather sparse. It is left up to the public imagination if their relationship was a whirlwind romance or more of a mutually beneficial arrangement. Reportedly, Charlene's romance with the prince got in the way of her training regime, and she failed to make the South African team for the 2004 Olympics in Athens. In 2005, Prince Rainier died, and Albert became sovereign prince of Monaco. The next year, he took his relationship with Charlene public at the 2006 Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy. They were seen embracing and canoodling at the opening ceremonies. Charlene planned to compete in the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing as her swan song, but a shoulder injury prevented her from qualifying. Their wedding was initially scheduled for July 9, 2011, but was moved up a week to prevent a conflict with an IOC meeting. Numerous Olympic Committee members were invited to the nuptials. Days before the wedding, news broke that Albert was being sued for paternity of another child he had fathered while he was dating Charlene. According to some, she tried to flee Monaco, but was followed by Albert, who confiscated her passport and convinced her to stay. The wedding went ahead, and the newlyweds honeymooned in Mozambique. In 2004, Charlene gave birth to twins, Gabriella and Jacques. In 2021, Charlene spent 5 months in South Africa with an ear, nose, and throat infection which prevented her from flying home, then another 4 months in a Swiss clinic recovering from exhaustion. Rumors of pending divorce and that the prince and princess are living separate lives have circled for years, but the couple continue to deny anything but a blissful marriage. Albert remains heavily involved in bobsledding, the IOC, and attends most Olympic Games, though Princess Charlene is often nowhere in sight. Want even more tea on history? Check out the History Tea Time podcast. You can now follow History Tea Time on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and check out my other royal history videos. If you really want to help, please consider supporting me on Patreon. A link is in the description. Thank you for watching.